All right, I'm here to introduce Joey Adams. He was recently written about in Perry County Tribune. From this article, Joey Adams and I have made contact with each other and about his tour and his music. With me today is Joey Adams.
How's it going?
Hello, Joey.
Hey.
First question I have for you is, I understand that you are from Crooksville. Tell us a little about growing up here, going to school, and from there.
Yeah, I mean, I lived in Crooksville my entire life. Made a lot of friends here, and I mean, just it definitely gave me that whole, small town vibe that, it kind of resonates throughout a lot of different areas of country music. And yeah, I mean, like I said, I lived here all my life. My friends are here.
What year did you graduate?
I graduated in 2018.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then after that, I moved to West Virginia to go to West Liberty University.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean, I lived here all my life. Like I said, I mean, I know just about damn near everywhere here. I mean, I have all my friends here, everything. It's where I grew up.
Have you done a fair amount of traveling because of the touring and whatnot?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily call it touring. I mean, I book dates, I would say probably 5 to 7 months in advance.
Mm-hmm.
And the places I, get booked at, they range everywhere between, Morgantown, West Virginia to, Columbus, Ohio to PA. I mean, just around the Tri-County area, really. I mean, I'm living in Wheeling, West Virginia.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like just living in Wheeling, it really gives me the access to go into Ohio when I want, go further into West Virginia when I want. I mean, it's right up there. Like
2-3 hours, you're just going.
It's 20 minutes either way.
Yeah.
I can be in PA or Ohio.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, it's not really that far of driving, except for like this past weekend whenever I came back to play at Buckeye Lake. That was about an hour and a half. And I've played in places like Chillicothe before. I play in Athens the second week of July, and those will definitely be further drives. But I mean, they're definitely going to be worth it. And yeah, so I mean, I'm definitely down to keep doing that and keep going further out, and that's genuinely what the goal is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. You recently had a 1-year anniversary on May 21st. First, congratulations. What is the anniversary of, so that we all know?
So, a year ago, on May 21st, I released my first EP called As Good As It Gets. An EP is basically just a smaller version of an album, for those that don't know.
I had to Google that.
Yeah, I mean, I had to Google it when I first released it. I did. But I released that with my producer, Ryan Smurthwaite. It was a total of 5 songs. And we released it right before I was about to finish off my junior year of college. And it was the first project we had done together, the first recorded work I had ever put out, and it was just a big, monumental step because it put me from being in the playing field that I was in of, just going out, playing at bars, playing a couple cover songs, playing some songs that I had written and, put out there that people, knew the words to. Mm-hmm. And then once I finally put it on, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, all that, then everyone was like, all right, this is real. It completely stepped up the field that I was in, and it made me more competitive about it too, honestly.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, it just definitely, that was awesome. But yeah, it was the 1-year anniversary of that EP, and from there, we've just been brainstorming and creating new stuff ever since.
When you say we, how many people was in your crew, as it were, a band or helpers or whatever?
So yeah, I mean, I definitely have a team of guys that really help me out. The big one is Ryan Smurthwaite. He is the sole producer for everything we do. I mean, not only that, he co-writes on every song with me.
Oh, okay.
So
cool.
Basically, I'll write the lyrics and the chords, what tuning's in, all that, and then I'll send it to him, and we'll brainstorm over it. We'll look at it, and he'll be like, "All right, how do you like this?" And then he'll just rip off, a sick guitar lick. He'll lay down some drums. He'll lay down some bass.
Oh, okay.
He is the guy. The dude is a wizard on just about any instrument you put in front of him.
Wow.
I mean, he's insane. And then, I got some other guys too. I got Adam Davis, who he helps me with like the flyers for my shows and stuff. He helps me with finding new places to play, just wherever. I mean, he knows all the different beer joints around. I got Joe Beers, who he does like a lot of my pictures and stuff for my my cover art for my albums. He did the cover art for all 3 things that I've released, As Good As It Gets, My Home, and the 216 Sessions. He's done the cover art for all 3, and he does a fantastic job. He outdoes himself every time. And then, I got some other guys, Mario Boney, Ryan Phelps. They really just do the same thing that Davis does in the sense of, really finding new places for me to play. They network me with new people. Mario, in fact, he just networked me with a guy who's out of Pittsburgh who's going to try and get me into some places up there. And playing in Pittsburgh, that's a big step too, because I mean that's a fairly big city with a decent music scene too. So I mean, just playing up there will be really awesome. But yeah, I mean, my team is that. I mean, it's those guys right there. They help me with everything I do. I run everything by them.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Your latest album, I believe, is called 216 Sessions, correct?
Yeah.
Could you elaborate a little bit on the name?
So the 216 Sessions was something we really just kind of decided to do on a whim. In the middle to end of the creation of the My Home EP that came out last December, me and my producer Ryan, we were like, it'd be kind of cool. Just like we said it in passing, we were like, it'd be kind of cool to release something acoustically. I mean, we play these shows together, just me and him acoustically, and people love it, and it's just, we were like, it'd be cool to do that. Then we never talked about it again. So then 2 months later, he was like, hey, do you still want to do something acoustic? I was like, heck yeah, man, I thought you'd never ask.
Yeah.
So we decided to go to Jamie Peck, Jamie Peck is this Emmy Award-winning producer out of Wheeling, West Virginia. Again, a master at his craft. Dude is awesome. And his studio is state-of-the-art. It's beautiful, incredibly well done. And we go and we're like, hey, Jamie, we'd like to just book a couple hours of recording time. And Jamie did his thing. He hit record, and me and Ryan, we were in the studio, and we released 5 songs, 2 of which were unreleased originals. We did an acoustic cover of As Good As It Gets, the song that we had released a year ago, and then we released 2 covers of 3 a.m. by Matchbox 20 and Dust on the Bottle by David Lee Murphy. And the reason it's called the 216 Sessions is because it took place at Studio 216.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, Jamie's Studio 216. And, we didn't know if we were going to call it 216 Sessions or, the 216 tapes. Like, we had no clue. It was like, okay, these are the 216 Sessions. It's what we came up with on the spot.
So the 216 Sessions would be like giving credit to where you recorded it, is that correct?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Well, and it's like there was nowhere else that we wanted to or could have recorded the acoustic stuff. I mean, like I said before, Jamie's place is beautiful. It's immaculate. It's incredibly well done. And, we were just like, this is where we're doing it. This is how it's going to go down. And we released it. And ever since we released it, I mean, it's been taken off. It's been, I think, about over a month now that it's been out, and people are still listening to it. People are still liking it. Right. And, I think we're maybe even looking forward to releasing it everywhere else. We released it exclusively on Spotify. I think I talked to some people, and they're all like, dude, like, release it everywhere else. And I think that's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
We just wanted to do that to kind of counteract the balance between Spotify and Apple. It was this thing for a while. Apple actually had this incredible margin compared to Spotify in terms of listeners and streams.
Right.
So it was like 90% of our listeners and streams came from Apple.
Wow.
Whereas the rest was Amazon and Spotify. Spotify being just as low as Amazon, if not lower at times. And it was like, okay, why is this happening? How can we alter this? So what we did was we released the 216 Sessions exclusively on Spotify. And once we did that, it just kind of took off from there. And people have been listening to it. Our numbers have gone up incredibly. We didn't even expect to happen.
Right.
And it's just we've been getting a lot of support from it. And now it's like the people who only have Apple are like, okay, dude, come on, let us hear it. So we'll probably release that soon within the next couple months too, I imagine.
Awesome. What is the size of your band, including those who you work with? You make music. You already answered that one. I believe you did. Your crew. The genre of music you play is country. Who were your influences?
I think country as a genre is just a very broad spectrum. I mean, you have the rock and country, you have the old western twangy country, you have just about everything. You even have the Americana, bluegrass stuff. And I think my earlier influences definitely revolve around like Eric Church, Kenny Chesney, John Mellencamp. I mean, growing up here and with my parents, I heard John Mellencamp all the time growing up. It's practically what I grew up on. In high school, I got really hooked on Eric Church, and that's kind of where I think I kind of formed my sound around is, just listening to his stuff and how he has like a lot of rock accents in his music. And then, now today, I look at it and I'm like, I really like a lot of these more Americana artists too. Tyler Childers, Zach Bryan, Charles Godwin. Those guys are insane at what they do.
Is there a thing that they do that stands out, or
I mean,
what do you mean?
it's their vocals, and I think more than anything, while you do have good songwriting with Eric Church, Mellencamp, all that, the different type of songwriting that Childers, Godwin, and Bryan do, it's beautiful in a sense. I mean, it's like they rhyme stuff, they like put stuff in their songs that you just are not expecting to ever be put into a song, and it's bold in that sense, and that's where like I really respect their music, and I strive to create stuff as good as them. I mean, they are amazing at what they do.
Do you have a favorite singer or songwriter? Who and why?
It probably still goes back to Eric Church.
Okay. Is there a song that stands out with you?
So there's a lot of songs. So when I discovered Eric Church in high school, like I said, and the first song I ever heard was by him. I think was well, not the first song I ever heard, but the first song that got me hooked was Record Year. Okay. He's saying one bourbon, one scotch, one beer. I'm having a record year. Yeah, I mean that. I thought like, man, that was a great song, and I think at that time too, I was a junior, maybe going into my junior year of high school, coming out of it was the end of sophomore year. I remember it was the end of sophomore year, and I had just gone through a breakup, and that entire song is like about a guy turning the tables in a sense of he's heartbroken, but he's turning the tables. And he's not gonna be heartbroken, and that kind of brought me out of it. And then I just went down a rabbit hole, and I found Drink in My Hand, and Cold One. I mean, just Mr. Misunderstood, Wrecking Ball, like all those songs. I was like, man, this is amazing. And from there, just spiraled. And he's definitely like the songwriter I look up to the most.
Okay. It's amazing the power of a song that the person who wrote or even sung it will never know what it does to a person in years. That's true. That's amazing.
It is amazing, and I think to every songwriter deep down, that's what they all strive for to happen. The majority of songwriters, I don't think they even care if they make money, if they're making, if they're getting famous. The majority of them, they just want to, touch people in a sense.
Right.
I mean, and that's my goals too. With a lot of the stuff I want to release in the future, and even now, it's just kind of grab a hold of people.
Right.
And I think that's what everyone wants.
What has been the most enjoyable show you've played, and why? Maybe not the most, but like a good one. Ooh. That way we're not singling out or setting anybody aside.
There's a couple. I mean,
I mean, is there a thing that happens at a show that makes it great other than, I mean, obviously connecting with an audience?
Connecting with the
audience.
audience.
Like a venue is set up? I mean,
Yeah. Well, I mean, setup is key. When different venues have different setups.
and I'm sure there's like different favorites, but like, you know,
like some venues, they have, you're playing on the same level as everyone else there. Like it'd be just as if I was standing here and everyone else was just standing around me. Like that was kind of different. It's not as entertaining. But then there's some that have stages that are way up high, and it's like you feel completely disconnected. The ones that have stages that are just the right size and they're like not too high away from people can still come up, give you a fist bump, be like, "Hey man, you're doing awesome." Those are the best ones, and especially when people are singing along to stuff. Whenever I first started, honestly, they were singing along to my songs. And it wasn't just like songs that I was covering. It was like I wrote a song called Underage, and it was about me getting an underage at a concert. And
an underage
citation.
Okay.
Yeah, so I got an underage citation at a Dirk Bentley concert. Wrote a song about it, and everyone was like, "Dude, this is awesome." And I used to play it probably 3 times a night at shows because people would keep going, play underage. And, they would sing along with it. I mean, same with Pong Partner, As Good as It Gets. Now the big one is Mountain Mama. I mean, that Mountain Mama and She Didn't Like My Boots, those are the 2 big ones. And, they still sing along to the old stuff too, but I mean, that's what is the best, is when people are singing along. It gives you chills. It gives you a rush of adrenaline.
Oh, I'll bet.
You feed off of it the entire night.
Now, what else stands out at a good show that makes you feel like you have other than the audience? Like, I don't know what you see. So, what is it, outside, inside? Is it?
I mean, outside.
I mean, you did talk
inside,
about the stage being a certain.
Yeah, outside, inside. I like the inside shows. I do. I don't. Being up on stage, you got some lights on you. You got the pressure on you. You get a little hot. You get a little sweaty.
Yeah, I'll bet.
But yeah, and being inside, you're typically in an air-conditioned place, so that's kind of nice. When you're outside, it's not always nice weather.
Right.
I will say though, the past 2 shows that I've had outside, one was a private party I did for some family friends, and another one was one I recently just played this past weekend over at Buckeye Lake at Flip Flops. And the Flip Flops one, it was outside, weather was beautiful, and it was incredibly nice. I mean, and it was awesome too. I think another great thing is when I walk into a place an hour beforehand and it's dead.
Yeah.
There's no one there. But then I'm playing 5-10 minutes into my set and the place is just packed. I mean, that's how it was at Flip Flops, I went, dead, no one there, not a soul. Everyone got there for me to play, and like I knew everyone in the audience.
Oh wow,
almost.
cool.
Yeah, I knew everyone there. And it was awesome. I mean, the whole deck was full, and it's a good feeling to do that, because it's like, okay, I have a crowd that's coming to see me.
Right.
I have a crowd that wants to come see me. And on top of that, I'm helping out, a small business.
Right.
I'm helping out a bar, because like, you never know how their night might have gone if they wouldn't have had someone playing there.
Right.
And that's what it's all about too.
Yeah, you give people a good experience. You're giving the bar more people for next week.
Exactly. I'm giving
back.
I'm giving the bar more money, which
Right.
especially in today's times.
Yeah.
I mean, that they need it. Yeah. Everyone needs it. There's places closing down. I mean, it's just it's rough right now. And that's something awesome. I love that feeling.
Right.
But yeah, just.
Have you ever got anything close to that as a child, for example? Playing in school, for example, or anything like that, where you're in front of a crowd at church, maybe. Nothing like that.
I mean, I remember one time. I don't even remember it actually. My mom always talks about it. When I was like a kid, we went to church, and I guess I got up there and started singing "Long Black Train" by Josh Turner, and granted that was way back when. I don't even remember it. I was a child.
Oh, okay.
But I don't think I ever.
There's no feeling associated to that being that young.
No.
Is that what you're saying?
No, yeah. I
Okay.
don't think there was ever a time where I had put myself out there like that, and had went out. I mean, there was obviously instances, just playing sports where you might have had like a really good game or something,
Yeah.
but nothing to the effect of playing a show
Right.
and knowing all these people came to support you and came to listen to you, and then when they're requesting songs that are yours, not just other
Right.
people's, like it's a great feeling. It is.
Now, I don't know how the business works, but I'm just curious, spontaneously, just being that you do cover, was it cover songs, or
Yeah.
I'm not sure what you call that. Is there ever an opportunity to do shows at a church doing music suggested by the church?
Yeah, so there's been a couple instances of that.
I didn't know how you viewed that. I was just curious.
Oh, I mean, I 100%. I mean, you know, if I can help out a church, you know, I'll help out a church. There was a time, I guess I was a senior in high school. I'm about to graduate, and that was right around the time I'd really started like playing the guitar a lot and, you know, wanting to play a lot. My dad, he plays in a bluegrass band called the Perry Pickers, and they were playing at a church one Sunday, and, you know, I went with my mom and my dad to go. You know, we went to church. We were going to go watch them, you know, support, and they were like, "Hey, Joey, Sanford, the guitar player, he's wanting to play his mandolin. You want to come up here and play guitar?" I was like, "All right, sure."
Yeah.
Like, I'm down. So I went up there, played guitar with them, played, you know, a bunch of, you know, fun religious songs. And you know, I think there's instances like if someone was like, "Hey, do you want to come play in church this Sunday?" I absolutely would. I was going to play for a church in Wheeling, you know, but then there was just some instances, people got COVID, I started getting busier, and it didn't work out. But I mean, yeah, if the time permits, I always am open to playing like at a church. I mean, you got to give back.
Right.
Yeah.
I was just curious how you would see it from like a business side of things. Like, since you do cover songs, it's like, why wouldn't you do a church?
Well, yeah,
and I've seen bands come into churches.
And I think a lot of churches, what they do is to pay musicians. If they don't have the funds through the church, they will do like the plate offering. Like people will pass the plate for you.
I've seen that as well.
You'll get that. But honestly, like if someone's like, "Hey, you want to come do 2 or 3 songs in church this Sunday?" You know, I'm not gonna say no.
Right.
I'm not even gonna be like, "Okay, like $100."
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
No, like. I don't.
There's always negotiation.
Yeah,
right?
well, but no, I wouldn't be like, "Oh, here, like, give me $100 on it." No, I mean,
I do this for the money.
Yeah, no. I mean, that's church. That's a
Yeah.
holy.
It's
area.
sacred.
Yeah, it's sacred.
Yeah,
You know,
I'm
I
with
wouldn't
you.
feel right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, we covered that. Okay, here's one you could reveal about yourself, especially for your fans. What music may surprise people that you enjoy? Have you got any like guilty pleasures? Anything strange?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a big Young Gravy guy.
Young
Young Gravy, Lil Dicky, Jack Harlow.
Yeah.
I love that stuff. I do.
No, I'm not familiar. Now, what genre is that?
Oh, that's rap.
Okay.
Yeah. I like Dua Lipa, Olivia Rodrigo. I mean, you can't go wrong with them. They're catchy. They're fun. I mean, it's fun. Like and it's weird too. I have like a whole separate playlist on my phone, like specifically for that kind of music that isn't country or rock. I mean, being a country guy, especially in the modern area, I love rock. I mean, especially like growing up here, like you listen to Metallica and you know, AC/DC, stuff like that. It's hard not to around here.
Right.
I mean, everyone loves it.
Yeah, that's part of the DNA. I always say.
Yeah. Honestly, I mean, that's AC/DC for sure.
Right.
I mean, I've listened to that on the mower. But no, I mean, definitely. Like I do listen to that stuff, and whenever I like put it on, which it is rare, but when I do put it on, I'm in the mood. People are like, "Okay, like, wasn't expecting this."
Right.
You know, even my girlfriend, she was like, "Since when do you like this?" I was like, "I've always liked this."
Yeah.
Like always. Eminem too. I mean, I listened to that all throughout high school. I mean,
Art is one of them strange things. It's almost like food, where you don't know you like it until you try it, kind of thing.
well, and my thing is too, I think a lot of people, they listen to songs and you have 2 different types of listeners. You have the people who listen for the melody and the rhythm of the song, and then you have people who listen for the lyrics. I'm a lyric guy. You know, if something has a good song, I mean, like I said, I love Eminem, and Lil Dicky. You know, if a lyric is meaningful, like Eminem's, you know, that speaks to me. You know, I love hearing that. Or when it's funny, like Lil Dicky, like he does that funny rap, and it makes me bust up laughing. I mean, it does, and I love it. That's why.
Now, I'm not familiar with Lil Dicky, but I would assume that'd be like a Deadpool, where it's a superhero but funny.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all funny rap. Like, dude is just
Unexpected,
off the wall.
yeah.
Yeah, and people are like, why do you like that? I'm like, dude, it makes me laugh. Like, this is
Yeah.
hilarious. But, I mean, yeah, I love all that stuff.
Okay. That's good. Okay, what are some hobbies that you have?
Ooh, hobbies. Honestly, I say between, working and playing shows and just hanging out with people, I mean, I don't really have a whole lot of hobbies.
Yeah.
I think the cool thing is that playing the guitar and writing songs started off as, my hobby.
Okay.
And now it's like, okay, like I'm getting paid to, make these. I'm getting paid to go play at bars and stuff. I do like fishing during the summertime.
Do you?
Yeah, I like fishing, cracking open some beers with the guys, just stuff like that. I mean, I used to be pretty big into like shooting my bow and stuff. Just the country boy stuff
Okay.
that you grow up doing around here. I mean,
Well, yeah.
everyone does that around here.
Yeah.
Everyone around here fishes and shoots a bow. But
Yeah.
I mean, and that's just like you said, it's embedded in the DNA.
Yeah, it is. The self-entertainment is what it comes down to.
Yeah. But
Because in a big town, you can go do stuff. As
Yeah.
a small town, you do stuff for you because you can't. There's nowhere to go to do it.
Yeah, you find
Yeah.
a stick in the yard, and
Right.
that thing. I mean, that's your toy for the
Yeah,
next.
we
20
develop,
years.
we
Yeah.
invent video, board games because we want something different. Yeah, exactly.
No, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, next one I have is, what are some of the jobs you have had to do to get by as an artist?
I mean, one job I'm working right now, I work during the week as a bartender in Wheeling. And that, honestly, like the place, they pay me good. They are awesome. It's the Bridge Tavern. It's honestly the best place I think I've ever worked.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, I worked at Bob Evans in high school. I worked at the Zanesville Country Club in high school. I worked at Cabela's for like 2 months because it was terrible.
Oh, man.
But not saying anything bad against Cabela's. But love Cabela's. But working in retail was not my speed, and I just couldn't do it. But yeah, I mean, bartending is what I do now, and that's how I get by. I do make a couple $100s on the weekend from a show, and it's good money, especially for the time that I'm doing. I play a 3-4 hour show. I can make anywhere between $300 to $1,000, depending on how good the night is. I mean, it depends on the night.
Right.
And bartending, that definitely helps me get by.
I was going to ask, does bartending complement what you do to help network and whatnot? And
Absolutely,
I'm sure it does.
yeah, absolutely. I've met a lot of people through bartending, especially at the Bridge. A lot of people that come in there, they, they're business owners. They work at different places. It's just that is networking at its finest.
Right.
And as I told you earlier, like I just graduated as a business guy. Networking is key, I think, in any line of business.
Absolutely, it
the
is.
more people the more contacts you make, the more successful you're likely to be.
Right.
And I think that especially has hooked me up with a lot of people.
Good.
Yeah.
Would you prefer one recording label over another, or are you just keeping your options open?
That's the thing about labels, I think if an artist can do something independently and be as successful as, be very successful independently, they should stay independent.
Yeah.
Because while a label, they will take care of everything. They'll put down the money, they'll hook up the contacts, they'll get your music out there. But I mean, there's just something about doing it independently, and I will always stick with the guy that has produced my past 3 albums. Ryan Smurthwaite. I'll always stick with him.
Right.
So if anyone ever does, if any label ever does come be like, hey, you're coming with us, I'm like, he's coming with. Me and the guys are coming with.
So I'm assuming you would treat, what's his name, Ryan?
Ryan, yeah.
You would treat him not just as a friend relationship, but you would treat him.
He's a brother.
You would treat him as a business relationship.
Yeah, no.
Because if someone came to you with whatever that price tag would be, right? You'd be like, Ryan, let's have a conversation.
Yeah.
What would make you feel comfortable if we parted ways on this one issue? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Is that a possibility?
I don't think I would ever part ways with them.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, no. If a label was like, "Hey, we're only taking you and we're not taking him," I'm like, "All right, see ya."
Right.
Like I'm
This
staying
is
with
a
I'm
this
staying
is
with
a
him.
combo meal right here.
It's
Take
just-
it, right?
Well, and I think that's pretty reasonable too, considering we've gotten to where we are.
Mm-hmm.
We are attaining, more fans, more listeners every day, and I couldn't have done it without him.
Right.
He writes, he co-writes on with everything with
Mm-hmm.
me. Like the dude is a part of, the name.
Mm-hmm.
It is my face, my name, my voice.
Right.
But he is like.
He's the words behind it. Some of the music, because he said he does different instruments to give you ideas and whatnot.
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
I can think of lyrics and some chords and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll put that down and I'll write it and I'll record it and I'll send it to him, and then he'll send me back sick guitar licks, drums, everything. Like,
Oh, okay.
yeah, I mean the dude. I mean, we are a team in that aspect, and I don't think if a label ever came to me and was like, "Hey, we're only taking you," I don't think I could ever do it to him because that trust and that relationship I've built with him. But also, just I don't think I would feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Trying to create the same music without him.
Right.
He is a part of the music.
It's like sleeping with one sock on. It's like, this won't feel right. Yeah, you know
well,
what I mean?
and it's always like we look at the music. We look at the music like a baby.
Yeah.
I gave birth to the baby. He raises it for 18
Right.
years. Like that. I mean, that's the truth.
Yeah.
The man does everything. The dude is awesome. But I mean, if a label was to come and be like, "Hey, we're taking both of you,"
Yeah.
it's whoever.
Any labels in mind? Or?
It's whoever has the best deal.
Yeah.
I mean, EMI, Sony, like they all have just as well notable artists. I mean, if it's one that has notable artists on it that I know can take me places to where we need to be,
Right.
then I'll go with them. Other than that, it's. I mean, I have been approached by like some production companies.
Oh, okay.
Nothing, no like big labels or anything.
Mm-hmm.
There was a production company out in California that got a hold of me. And they were like, "Hey man, like we can hook you up with this, this, and this." And I was like, "Well, I already got a producer." And they were like, "Oh, well, like we can hook you up with our producer." I was like, "Yeah, but I like my guy better." I was like, I like my guys
See,
better.
everybody likes their guy. And that's where these things clash, and I was just curious how people would deal with those.
Now, if someone ideally is coming forward and they're like, "Hey, we're going to give you money and contacts, and you just keep doing what you're doing," cool with me.
Yeah.
Cool with me. But as of right now, I mean, put it like this: I think to produce a full album, I mean, with other musicians on it and everything, and getting studio musicians, all that, I think it costs around $15,000 for a full album to do it without a label. A label is basically a bank. They'll give you 50 to 100 grand to get it done, but then that first 50 or 100 grand you make back from the streams,
Right.
you have to pay back to them.
Right.
So you're not even seeing that money. Whereas Ryan and I, who, like I said before, he's a wizard at what he does. We can go in. We recorded all three studio projects. I think for $1,500.
Wow.
$1,500 because
Wow.
he's able to do everything that he does, and that just means like when the stuff picks up even more, with streams and everything, that money's going right back to him. I don't even care about it because he deserves it.
Right.
But like that money's going right back to the team. It's not going back to some label that had to put money down for us.
Right.
And that's what I love.
Yeah. The feeling of no obligations, but at the same time you're taking care of each other. And
then it's also you have the artistic freedom too.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's awesome.
All right. What did you use that you don't anymore that others could learn from?
What do you mean by that?
I actually jumped a question, so maybe go back then. Okay, yeah. What and or when was a turning point or a big break you got so far? Or any defining moments?
I think the most recent one, definitely the Perry County Tribune. I got that interview, and it was put out there, and I immediately saw results on Apple and Spotify.
Awesome.
Immediately. And it was like, I guess from talking to people from back here, I went away to college in West Virginia. I built up my music scene in West Virginia.
Oh, okay.
And I did it there without, like family or friends back here, just coming out to my shows, because I wanted to believe in myself of creating that hype in a different area.
Yeah.
I wanted to kind of prove that to myself.
Yeah.
So then, whenever the thing with the Perry County Tribune comes out, it's like people back home are like, oh, I knew he had like started doing music as like a hobby or something.
Yeah.
Whenever like.
But Joey's legit.
He first went to high school, but now he's got like stuff on Apple and Spotify. I went to like a bar a couple nights ago, and they were just like I walked out of there. I was with my brother, and I walked out of the bar, and we passed someone that I barely knew in high school, and he was like, "Hey man, how you been? Like, you're doing all this music. Like are you with like a label? Like, what are you doing now? All this, like this." And I'm like, "Man, like, who are you?" I was like, I barely know you. But I mean, and that's the thing too. I mean, it's just. That was definitely, a big turning point. And then, obviously, whenever I play a show that is in a new place or a bigger place or a more populated place and it goes amazing, that's always a certain type of turning point. It's always a certain type of big break.
Because you're learning the different environment and how that would...
Well, it's not just that. It's, you play at a new place, not all the same people are going to be there as playing at the old place.
Right.
So another one is... I'm playing at Generations, which is a bar in Wheeling, West Virginia. I'm playing there August 20th, I believe. Don't count me on that. You can find the dates on joeyadamsmusic.com.
Absolutely.
But I'm playing there, in August, and Eric Church, Luke Bryan played there. I mean, they played there in the early 2000s, so it's really cool that I'm getting to play a Saturday night show there. And that's also a bigger break, because that's like probably one of the most well-known bars in that area.
Oh wow!
So playing there is another big break, and then like I said, like just playing anywhere new, you're getting a different crowd, you're getting new people to hear you, and you're always gonna have a couple people who are like, oh man, who's this guy? And then they're gonna look him up and listen to him later, and I'm like, all right, this guy isn't too bad.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Here is the. Not the previous question I had, but the one before it would probably better set it up. What gear do you use? Guitar, amp, mics, etc.
Oh, yeah. So I have 2 Martin guitars that I use. The one I got right after I graduated high school. I got about $500 from like graduation money. People like in graduation party, they gave me money, whatever. I had about $500, $600, and my dad was like, "Okay, well, I'll give you $400 or $500 for a guitar." Because he was like, when your brother graduated, I bought him a guitar for $400 or $500. I'll buy you a $400 or $500 guitar. And I was like, okay, well, I've been playing at CA House, like going in there, and you can ask the guys at CA House this. I worked at the Bob Evans right up on Underwood, and every day after going to work at Bob Evans, I would go into CA House and play on the guitar, just play on the guitars in there. And when I finally came in, I took the money that my dad gave me, the money from my graduation party. I bought me a $1,000 Martin.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and it's a beautiful Martin. It sounds amazing. It's the acoustic. If you hear any acoustic guitars on like any of our recorded stuff, it's more than likely that guitar that's being used. And that one is just near and dear to me. For a while I didn't play it. It's not the main one I play anymore. The main one I play now is a different Martin. It's a DX1, and I've done some customizations to it.
Okay.
So I bought that guitar right when COVID started. There was that brief period for like 2 weeks, I think in June or July, where everyone was like, "Oh, we're coming out of COVID. Like everything's good." So me and the boys, we go down. We were like, "All right, screw it. We're going down to Myrtle Beach."
Yeah.
We go down to Myrtle Beach. I had a bunch of money in my pockets, and I was like, "Okay, let's go to a pawn shop." I went to a pawn shop, bought this Martin guitar. I think brand new. It goes for like $800. I got it for $400, and there's a couple dents and stuff in it. And then I put some pickups in it, And then about 6 months later, I think it was, I had been playing it around a campfire, and the strap had fallen off and came unhooked, so it fell into the fire. I picked it up immediately. It was fine. There was maybe 1 or 2 burn marks on there, and then I got bored one night and I was like, burn marks, okay. I took a butane lighter and lit it all around the edges. So when you look on the 216 sessions, you look on that album art, that is that guitar. And that's one like I've just chipped away at. I mean, there's
Is that the one that has the
the ring around
wonder
it.
what
That was done with a butane lighter, just out of my own boredom. And I did it, and my girlfriend, she was like, "Okay, that looks stupid," and I was like, "All right, well, whatever. I already did it. It's done." And then I went and go play at a show with it, and everyone's like, "Oh, dude, that looks pretty cool. Like, where'd you get that done?" I was like, "I just did it myself in my room."
You got to go for the different.
Yeah,
good or bad, go different.
Yeah, exactly. Stand out. But I mean, and that's one. I bang on. I mean, there's dents and scratches in it. There's everything. It's worn.
Yeah,
it's worn. I mean, I play it all the time, and I still play the other one too. For a while, my producer was playing that one whenever we did shows. He just bought a Martin as well to play at shows, and just I still play them both, but the one is definitely played a lot more than the other.
Okay.
I mean, it's worn down to a point. I mean, it looks cool. I like that worn look. I'm hoping one day I can wear a couple holes in it. Just keep playing it. I mean, that kind of proves something to myself.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like every guitarist, when they get a new guitar that's an acoustic, they're like, okay, I want to play this till there's a hole in it from where I'm playing. Like, I'm like, all right, like. That is the goal. So I use those. I use just a standard, PA system, stuff like that. A microphone. The microphone and the PA system, my mom had actually got me before one of my first gigs. And then from there on out, that's the same system I keep using.
All right.
Yeah. There's been different equipment here or there. I get some lights. I have a little drink holder I put on my mic stand.
Oh, okay, nice.
All that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that's just all the same equipment I've always been using.
All right. I think you may have covered that question already, but we'll go that one I repeated. What did you use that you don't use anymore, which is the one guitar?
Yeah.
That others could learn from. Now, what could somebody else possibly learn from, or what have you learned from going from one guitar to another guitar?
Always just go with what feels comfortable to you. Some stuff is going to sound better than others, and that's just depending on how much you're willing to pay for it, how much work you're willing to put into it, how good of care you're willing to take of it. The one that I don't even play out, like use much, sounds 20 times better than the other one I use.
Oh.
But the other one I use, I think it looks pretty cool. And it sounds good enough to where it's like, okay, like, people aren't like, okay, his guitar sounds like crap, so it's like, all right, the guitar sounds good enough, and I put some work into it, you know. I got it all new stuff, made it sound better. I took it to CA House, they did some stuff to it, did it, and it's already like a decent guitar. It's not like a terrible guitar,
right?
But I thought it looked cooler. I mean, especially after I did the stuff with the butane lighter, I was like, all right.
Well, you got a story behind it.
Well, and it was also like at the time when I had said, my producer and guitarist, he was using the other one that's nicer. I made him use that one over the other one because he's a better guitarist.
Right.
So I was like, okay, you're going to use the good guitar because you sound awesome. I'm going to use the slightly worse guitar because it looks cool.
Yeah.
I'm the front man anyway, so it's like, might as well look cool while I'm up there.
Now, which one did you use to record this last?
We used both, actually.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah, so he used the nice one, and then I used the, the slightly less nice.
Interesting.
Yeah, we used both.
Somewhat covered these already, but if you got anything you can go with, you can. How has your sound or sounds changed over time?
Yeah, I mean, definitely whenever I first started playing, like whenever I first started learning the guitar, I really started wanting to play in front of people. I really wanted to sound like, Eric Church, Whiskey Myers. I played a lot of Whiskey Myers, some Kenny Chesney here and there, but I really wanted to sound like Eric Church and Whiskey Myers to some extent. And then, just as time went on, I grew away from that and just kind of started going into how I like to sound. You know, how my voice sounds, how it naturally sounds.
Now, can I stop you there for a minute?
Yeah.
Give me a time frame where you went from like kind of ding-a-ling-a-linging, playing these other guys to like, I want to find myself. Where?
Okay,
what
so
is that?
I started playing the guitar. I picked it up when I was 17, 16 maybe. You know, I was playing it every night my senior year of high school.
Okay.
Went to college, played it again every single night in my dorm room. All the time during the day, I play hours a day, just ridiculously. I would do that, and I would write songs in my dorm room. Looking back now, they all sucked. Like, there's a couple that have potential, and you know, maybe one day I'll dig them out and
rework it.
You know, rework them, make them sound better. But for the most part, you know, those ones, you know, that was just me goofing around, like, you know, just trying to, you know, work on my craft. And you know, I met some people, and even they were like, yeah, like, you need to work on this, you need to work on that. Summer going into sophomore year is when I got the Underage. When I got the Underage, 2 days later, I wrote a song called Underage.
Wow.
And I wrote that song, and it was one of those songs that just comes together. I mean, I was writing stuff down, and it just came together. It was easy. It was simple. And from then, that changed my whole aspect of writing, as well as over time, I just, you know, over that next year, you know, right before we went into COVID, I just started really focusing on how I wanted to sound. And then during COVID, you know, that COVID, the first couple months, I loved it. You know, a lot of people were like, dude, this sucks, you know, everything's shut down.
Right.
Not me.
Yeah.
I went fishing every day. I drank a lot of beer, and I ate Domino's every day. But most importantly, I just sat around and played my guitar. I mean, at that point in time, I could probably write 2 songs a day.
Oh wow!
I mean, there was just notebooks full of stuff I've written, and it's like, yeah, some's good, some's bad.
Oh,
you know?
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a firm believer you got to work the bad out. But during that time, I was writing stuff that I liked, and I really could relate to myself, and I also rediscovered how I wanted to sound, and that was the big turning point to where I really wanted to discover how I sounded like.
What triggers that? Because you know, we all see it when you know, watch your kids grow up, or watch a comedian go from like to shit to good, or whatever it is. When someone seems to like find themselves, they seem to just take off in a way.
I think there's.
I mean, there's like different degrees to that, obviously.
I think
right?
there's a number of things. You know, you have the competitive aspect of it. You know,
I want this to be mine, and you. That's
when it comes to music, I'm very competitive. You know, whether it's about playing shows, playing different places.
Right.
How many listeners I have compared to other people.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a bad habit, but I look at my listeners, my streams every day, probably 20 times a day, and sometimes I even compare it to other people that are out there, and it's like, you know, it's a bad habit, but you know, I do that. That's the whole competitive aspect of it, and just wanting to be better, wanting to be the best at something. And then, you know, the other aspect of it is just really, it's. You ever heard the song "The Ride" by David Allan Coe?
I know. I would have to hear it. Yeah, I don't know names well.
David Allan Coe in that song, he talks about can't like make people feel what you feel inside, and you know, you can't make people feel what you feel inside until you really feel it deep down yourself.
Right.
And you know, it's getting in your feels in a sense. In that point, it's just really digging deep into who you are, and then writing stuff that you feel, but also in a sense, you know, someone else could feel. And you know, when I write something like that, and someone's like, "Oh, like I really felt that. Like that's like that hit me.
Right.
Like I love that. That is the thing." And then that also makes you kind of change, because then you're like, okay, I'm going to quit trying to mimic other people.
Right.
And I'm just going to do what feels comfortable with me and I enjoy.
Right.
You know, and you know, to go off of like making people feel stuff. I mean, I had this guy who lives in Texas. One of the most recent releases I had was Red Dirt that I put out on the 216 sessions. And a guy from Texas that, I had known, we had, talked a little bit throughout like the years,
Right.
Nothing crazy, like we were just buddies. And he DM'd me one day and was like, man, your song Red Dirt, like it brought up all my emotions of my ex-girlfriend. And I was like, man, like I appreciate that. Like I love hearing that. And whenever, stuff like that happens, it's the best. And then it makes the competitive drive.
Right.
They work off of each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's insane.
You get hungry for it again. I
Absolutely.
get that. What is let's see here. What's the story behind your album's names? We covered 216.
Yeah, so there's
How about
216. As Good as It Gets is, the first album that or EP we put out. And that was just, it was the first song on there that we wanted to go with. And, I could have called it Underage, could have called it Palm Partner, whatever.
Yeah.
But I was like, you know what? As Good as It Gets, I think that's a pretty solid one. I mean, it was definitely my favorite one to play at the time. I loved playing it wherever I was. My buddy Adam Davis, he still stands to this day, I think, that it is his favorite song. So, I mean, it's just, that one was just, you know what? I'm going to call it As Good as It Gets. I think it's solid, whatever. My Home, again, it's a song on the EP. It's actually the last song instead of the first. And we definitely did that by design too. But My Home, the whole idea of it, if you look at the album artwork, so the album artwork is the backside of me and my girlfriend sitting. So that picture was actually taken by her mom.
Okay.
We were just hanging out. I'm gonna wait till that car passes. Loud muffler.
Small town.
Yeah, but no. So we were actually just hanging out. It was like Halloween weekend or something. We were with her family, and her family, they live down in Williamstown, West Virginia, and where they sit, they have that beautiful, picturesque like landscape. Like you could just see miles out from the backyard of their house. So we were sitting on the back step, and her mom took that picture, and Olivia, she was like, I hate this picture, like can't stand it, my hair looks like crap, blah blah blah. And I was like, no, are you kidding me? This picture looks like an album cover.
Right.
So I sent it to my man Joe Beers, and the song My Home.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people were let down when they saw My Home, and they were like, "Oh, this is about Crooksville or the Perry County area." But then it's about her. It's about my home isn't a place; it's the person.
Right.
So a song about the area will come in time. But that song was about her, and I was like, I really like the idea of calling this My Home, and the picture was there, so that's what we went with. It was just the collaboration of things, and Joe Beers, he did awesome on the artwork, and at that point it was just that's what it was. And then for this next one, we're working on a full-length album to come out in 2023.
Wow.
And we don't know what we're going to name it yet.
It's pretty ambitious of you to do that.
Yeah, we and that's the thing too. I think me and Ryan, and as well as the rest of the guys, we have busy minds in a sense. We don't like to just sit around and wait on stuff. Especially me and Ryan. We're just like, before we're even finished with the project, we're like, okay, what's the next one?
Right.
And it's even to the point where we're like, okay, well, we don't want to wait an entire year to put stuff out. So like, we're planning right now to put something out by the end of July.
Okay.
We want to put out a song by the end of July, a single. And, probably more to come in the fall too, I can imagine. But yeah, and we don't know what we're gonna call it yet. I was even joking around with my buddies the other night. I had this buddy named Frank, and I was like, hey Frank, you pay me $500 right now, I'll name my next album Frank.
Yeah.
he was like, I'll consider it.
He'll consider it.
But, we have no clue what we're going to call it yet. And
see, when you had mentioned the My Home, it is not directly related to where you grew up, but going back to the song Red Dirt, I wondered if there was any relation between the clay we live in and the red dirt, but I had never read the lyrics, so I wouldn't have known.
No,
But
so red dirt, because when you think of red dirt actually applies to the South and more commonly Texas. And what had happened was I had this friend who she was leaving to go to Texas. She was leaving West Virginia. And her and I were just friends, but there was a guy who was like trying to convince her to stay in West Virginia.
Oh.
And she was like, I'm not doing that. And I was just like, yeah, screw that guy. Like, get out of here. Go do your thing. And whenever that had happened, I was like, okay, I'm going to put myself in this guy's shoes.
Right.
You know? And so I wrote that. And it's about a girl leaving West Virginia and the guy who's in West Virginia, you know, kind of running
Right.
after her.
yeah.
And, you know, it's just stuff like that. And, you know, at the end of the song, you know, some people have noticed it, some people haven't. I put in some references to, like, Waylon and all that, you know, just other artists that, you know, have made a huge impact on country music that are from Texas. And, you know, yeah, that's what that's all about. But I can definitely say a song about the area is coming.
Oh, okay.
I mean, that there's more. It's more than likely going to be on the full-length album, and I wanted it that way. I wanted some more meaningful stuff on the full-length album because I wanted more listeners to hear it.
Right.
Because, again, Crooksville especially, it's a small place.
Yeah.
I think it has like, what, 2,000 people?
2,500.
2,500? Okay. And so 2,500 people, you know, I have over 2,500 listeners, you know, and I've anywhere between, you know, 500 to 3,000 on Apple Music right now.
Right.
Just depending on the, you know, month. And then, you know, Spotify I have a couple hundred as well. And it's just like, I definitely want to, you know, broadcast, you know, Crooksville in a sense to more people. So I wanted to wait until I had built up that audience. And I was like, okay, like, once I build up that audience, then I'm going to release the song about the hometown because that's what Crooksville deserves.
Right. I'm not aware of anybody else has put anything with Crooksville, but I'm assuming you're going to put that on the musical map.
Oh,
Crooksville.
I'm hoping.
You might be the
hoping.
first. I'm
I'm
not
hoping.
sure. Alrighty. What is the story behind albums? What are other names you have contemplated?
Ooh. For
Any
like,
ones you really struggled with, for example? Any names that you're like, man, I see this or that. 216, is it?
yeah, I mean, 216, that was back and forth. My Home, we went back and forth a little bit on. We almost called it Mountain Mama, I think, at one point, which Mountain Mama is the most streamed song that we have, period. Which is insane to think about, too, considering it was released after an entire EP was.
Right.
So, I mean, it blew past the entire first EP in, I think, a month. But I think we considered naming it Mountain Mama at one point. And then, you know, I'm trying to think what else. With songs, it's always a struggle.
Yeah.
You know, not always. Sometimes a song comes together fairly quickly. But, you know, there's times where you never know what you're going to name it. I mean, there's one I wrote that the hook, at the end of the hook, and this is going to be on the next, like, album, I guess. Yeah, it'll be on the album. The hook, the end of the hook, the end of the chorus, it says, "Keep me from you." But it's a murder ballad. So, you know, it's one of those classic country murder ballads where a guy's like pissed off at his girl or something. He's, you know, he's going to offer or something like that. But it's a murder ballad. So instead of that, I was like, all right, we're going to call it Murder Ballad number blah, blah. Because I didn't like the idea of saying "Keep me from you." Because it kind of sounds like a love song.
Yeah.
And it's also like, I also wanted to name it, you know, Murder Ballad number 2 or number 3 because we haven't released a number 1.
Oh,
so I wanted people to be like, oh, like, what's number 1?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, it's stuff like that. You know, it generally it comes together fairly quickly. But there are times, you know, especially when deciding what to name it. I think this next album is going to be the hardest one to name.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So we don't know.
What is a name you had prior before choosing one of the 3 you've chosen so far?
Oh, like I said, Mountain Mama.
Oh, that's right. Yes,
yeah. I know whenever my freshman year of college, I wrote this song called Out of Habit. Mm-hmm. And for the longest time, I was like, you know what? Out of Habit. That is going to be the first name of my first album.
Yeah.
And it probably won't be.
Right.
But because now things evolve, you know, I'm not the same person I was when I wrote that song. And it's also like, you know, I don't like the song as much now compared to, you know, other stuff I put out. It's probably one of the better ones I wrote in that time, but it's definitely not near as good as some of the stuff I'm writing now.
Right.
So I mean that was a big one, and I was hell bent on calling it Out of Habit. I think as good as it gets. I considered calling it Out of Habit too.
Oh wow.
Yeah, not the song, but the whole EP. Yeah. I definitely considered calling it Out of Habit at one point. I considered wanting to put that song on there, but then we went with the 5 songs, and I was like, it's as good as it gets. That's what this is going to be called. That's what we went with. Yeah.
Do you have a song that you connect with most, or does that change even?
Definitely changes.
Okay.
Whenever I'm writing stuff, it changes frequently. When I write something that I really like, I'll play it over and over again.
Yeah.
You know, I'll keep playing it, keep running it through my mind. I'll record it on my phone and listen to it in my truck. I mean, it's stuff like that. And then, you know, just as far as recorded works, I definitely feel a deep connection to all the songs I've put out. You know, I think for a while, Heaven in My Eyes, which is off the 216 sessions, was a big one just because it talks about West Virginia. And, you know, that's where I've been spending the majority of my time. I live there now. But, yeah, I mean, it's just that one was definitely one. My Home, whenever I wrote My Home, that was another one. Same with Mountain Mama. Mountain Mama is kind of cool that we're here right now because whenever I had written Mountain Mama, it was during the Pottery Festival.
Oh, okay.
And so Pottery Festival was going on over here. They had an open mic that year.
Wow.
And I wrote the song in about 30 minutes, came here later that night for the open mic, played it right up over there on that stage. And that was the first time I ever played it. And it was cool, too, because the first time I had ever played it, people were clapping along with the beat.
Wow.
I mean, it was a whole thing. And from there, I was like, okay, this is a song. This is a good one. I'm going to keep it. So yeah.
I don't know if that's like balls or guts to do that. Write a song, same day, then you perform it?
So there's, I mean, I don't know.
That's it.
I think that is ballsy.
Yeah.
But I think trying out a new song at an open mic
quickly.
So quickly. I think that's ballsy. But I think trying it at an open mic is what it's all about. I met this guy. I had mentioned Charles Wesley Godwin earlier. He's an artist out of Morgantown, West Virginia. He's touring all over the country with Zach Bryan. And I had met him at an open mic, and you know, I had played some stuff on there that I definitely messed up on, and he caught it. And I was like, I know you saw me mess up. He was like, dude, that's the whole point of going to an open mic. It's not to impress people.
Right.
It's to go and try out stuff that you haven't done before and see how a crowd feels about it. And if you're going to mess up, you know, just mess up.
Yeah.
It's not a big deal. And, you know, so I definitely keep those words in my head a lot.
Right.
And, you know, now it's funny, too, because that bar that I was at for the open mic, I will actually be playing there early August.
Oh, okay.
And it's a big bar in Morgantown, too, so that's another show, like, I'm very excited for.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Do you have any interests or interesting, strange, or fun stories that stand out from playing shows?
Playing shows? Absolutely. Within the first year of gigging and playing at bars, there was a bar I had played at. I can't remember which one it was, but it was over in the northern panhandle of West Virginia. And there was this guy. And, I mean, this is when, like, you know, before COVID, the bar's packed, you know, just it was awesome. And there was this guy, you know, there was a dead spot. You know, I just finished a song, about to start the next song, and this guy from the back goes, "Play Slayer." I'm a country guy. I'm a country guy. But then, so after that, every show, my friends would always yell, "Play Slayer." It's like the play Freebird of my shows.
Right.
It's this running joke. But the best part of this story is I played a show at Mustang Sally's in West Virginia. It's in Fallsby, West Virginia. I played there, and I was like talking like to some people in the audience and all that, and this one guy who sounded just like that guy from that night goes, "Play Slayer," and I just looked at him and was like, "I've been looking for you for over a year." I was like, "You realize how much of hell you've made my life?"
And one day that could be a part of the song.
Yeah, exactly.
That's funny.
That's probably my favorite one. As for I know you didn't ask, but stories involving like streams and stuff. I had mentioned it to the people at the Perry County Tribune. I can see on Apple Music where all my listeners are from and see what they're listening to.
Yeah.
Obviously, I can't see who they are, all that.
Right.
But I can. So, a little while right before the whole Russia invasion in Ukraine started, there was a listener in Kiev, Ukraine, who was listening to the My Home EP, and he listened to all the songs, but My Home, the song, he listened to probably 10, maybe even 15 times.
Wow.
Like on repeat. And the other ones he listened like 2 or 3 times. But that one he listened to a bunch. And when I saw that, when I had seen that, I didn't notice it until probably 2 weeks into the invasion. And I was like, man, like everyone's freaking out about it. People are still freaking out about it, obviously.
Yeah.
But that was when tensions were high. Everyone's really worried. Everyone's like just they hate seeing what's going on over there. And I had seen that, and I was like, man, like that struck a chord.
Humanizes a little bit.
That struck a chord, and like I sent it to my family and everything, and my dad like put it on Facebook, and he was like, "This is just a cool story." Like Joey like told me today. I had no like plan on telling anyone about it, but it was just that's something. I mean, it kind of gave me chills whenever I saw it. It was crazy. But I did like the idea of some Ukraine soldiers maybe blasting Mountain Mama, shooting down some Russians. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah. There's a Ukraine artist on YouTube I listen to, and all he does is produce new copyright music.
Okay.
That way you can add it to like a background.
Yeah.
And I follow that all the time. That's the only Ukraine connection that I would have personally. But
Nice.
do you have any advice for other artists?
It's gonna be the same advice that everyone gives. Keep grinding.
Keep grinding.
Keep grinding.
You make the cake good, people come eat it.
Yeah, exactly. There's going to be shows, and I've had this. There's going to be shows where there's no one there. You're going to have one person there. I mean, I don't think since playing in college I've experienced that. There's been a couple shows where they've definitely been smaller. I mean, it could have been because COVID or something, whatever. But definitely whenever I was first starting out and first trying to like feel comfortable playing in front of people, empty bar rooms, and then you're not playing for anyone. You might be playing for the wait staff or the bartenders or the owner or whoever, but you're playing for yourself at that point. And sometimes you just got to embrace it. And also, I think even if you're playing, whether you're playing to a room full of people or playing to an empty room, you got to give 110% no matter what. Because there's always someone listening.
Yeah.
There's always someone watching, and they're gonna be like, okay, I'm gonna hook this kid up.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's definitely the thing. Also, if you really want to get out there, keep networking. Be a schmooze people.
Yeah.
Even if they can tell you're being a schmooze, keep doing it. Like just try to. Also, don't copy others. Just do your thing. Do your thing. Do your thing. Keep doing what you do. Keep doing what you like. Keep doing what you enjoy. I mean, that's what it's all about. Don't play for other people.
I'm wondering about your response if I were to say, why continue doing something you enjoy?
Continue doing something I enjoy?
Yeah, why?
Because I enjoy it.
Yeah, but why? Yeah, but why continue to do it just because you enjoy it?
I mean, that's fair. I mean, yeah, I guess, it's definitely...
I have an answer. I'm just curious what you respond to me.
I mean...
I'll answer for you, right?
Yeah.
Okay. If you enjoy it, that means you do it for free. If you're willing to do it for free, you're willing to do it for money.
That's true.
And there's money after that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, that's definitely true. And there's times where I played for free.
Yeah.
I mean, there were plenty of times I played for free. And then there's times where I played for $50 or $100, you know. And now it's to the point where I'm charging at least $100, you know, an hour. I mean, and that's just, you know, that comes with the aspect of realization. You know, I think it becomes, you realize that you pull a crowd, you bring a crowd, you make the bar money. So why aren't you making money?
Right.
Or why aren't you making, you know, a little bit more?
If I'm making you money, I should be able to make some money too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, you know, not everyone's always nice. You know, I remember whenever I first started playing shows, you know, up around college, one of the first bars I played at, I was like, you know, I would like $250 for the night. You know, I'm going to play a 3.5 hour show. You know, I'm going to work my ass off. I'm going to get a bunch of people in here. I would like $250. And they were like, oh, well, we have no idea who you are. We're not going to pay you $250. Couldn't argue with them. In my mind, I'm like, okay, yeah, fair enough. Like, you have no clue who I am. Granted, I did bring a crowd. But I was like, you have no clue who I am. So I bargained with them. I was like, okay, well, how about this? I bring no one. You pay me nothing. I bring a crowd and I pack the place. I want $250. And I brought a crowd. I packed the place. I got my $250, and they were like, "We're having you back." So I mean, it's one of those things, and you know, it's you're not just proving yourself. You're not proving anything to yourself at that point. You're proving it to others as well. And you know,
I think part of the lesson there to be learned for anybody listening, for example, right, would be the word no doesn't mean you can't be invited.
It means try harder.
It means try something different, try harder, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless we're talking about consent, then no means no. No is no.
That is correct. All right, any misconceptions you'd like to say something about?
Oh, misconceptions. I don't know. I mean,
because from the outside, people see this artist guy, oh, he's probably banking bucks, or he's got women, or anything that you want to say, about guitars or about anything.
Country music is not all the same. You know, it's not the same at all. You know, you have your Western traditional country, you have your, you know, your alternative country, you have your, you know, classic rock mixed with country. You know, you can't listen to Whiskey Myers, George Strait, and, you know, Eric Church and say that they sound completely the same.
Right.
Yeah, you can't. They all sound different. You know, and you know, to bank off the money thing, you know, I'm broke.
Yeah.
I'm broke.
Yeah.
I mean, I pour money into the recording process, and yeah, you know, streams they bring in, you know, a very small amount of money.
I would imagine.
I mean, I think Apple Music, it's 1 cent per stream. I think for Spotify it's .0038.
Ouch.
Yeah. It's rough.
Ouch.
But so like streams, you know, they help, but it's got to be a lot.
Yeah.
It's got to be a lot. You know, and shows, like, I'll make good money on shows too, but it's also like I can't. Whenever like I'm working somewhere, like I work at the Bridge, I work, you know, Tuesday through Thursday. You know, they're not open on Mondays, so but I work Tuesday through Thursday, and I do that because if I have a show on a Friday or Saturday and it gets booked last minute or it gets booked, you know, a couple weeks in advance, you know, I'm going to have to tell them, like, hey, I can't work. And they might have been depending on me. Right. So then it's hard in that aspect, too, because, like, when I'm not playing a show on a weekend, then it's kind of hurting me a little bit money-wise.
Right.
So it's like, you know, it's a lot of give and take, but I have to keep my weekends open for the possibilities of playing shows. And, you know, I'm very fortunate enough to where this summer, as well as, you know, going into the fall already, I'm booked every weekend, either with a show or, you know, a family gathering. Like, I have a couple weddings that I have to go to here or there, or, you know, some birthday parties or whatever.
You're performing a show every weekend.
Every weekend I can.
Incredible.
So I have, like I said, I have a wedding this weekend, a wedding the weekend after, and then there is a weekend in June I'm not playing anywhere. That's purely so I can relax and go fishing, do something, drink.
No Joey time.
Yeah. But then the weekend, but then 3 weeks in a row in July, I'm playing in Newark, or Hanover, July 2nd for Frog Fest, and then I'm playing in Athens July 8th, and then I'm playing July 22nd back in West Virginia. So, I mean, and then, one more weekend because it's my birthday.
Right.
My birthday's at the end of July. I'm going to enjoy that weekend. I'm not going to go have to drive somewhere, play a show, and do all that.
Right.
I'm going to relax. And so but then the weekend after, right back to it, playing in Morgantown. It's stuff like that. And, then I got a couple dates that are booked, in September, August. Probably going to start booking for October and, even into 2023 here soon. A couple festivals as well have reached out to me about playing. I'm booked solid. It feels like, but granted, if there's a date or a weekend I can make something work, like say I have a show, in Newark, on a Friday. Yeah. And somewhere in Buckeye Lake is like, hey, we want you to play on a Thursday or on a Saturday.
Right.
I'll do it because it's on the way. I can do it. You got to grind. But who is that?
Small town idiots.
Yeah. But it's definitely that whole thing.
So let's say I'm gonna have a business party and I'm gonna bring you in, right? What would I need to provide you for you to perform a show? Just a couple power outlets. I mean, what else is there?
Power outlets and money. That's it.
That's what makes you go, right?
Yeah, I mean, and that's the whole thing too. Again, when it's friends, family, I try and lower the price. If I know it's going to be a good time, I'll go and just whatever covers gas and a little extra.
Right.
Like. That's a big thing right now, especially is gas.
I would imagine.
I'm going to burn through a quarter to a half tank, in that truck, just getting somewhere. It's an hour and a half away.
Yeah.
That's a big thing is just covering my side of things. But typically, I bring the sound, I bring the lights, I bring the guitars, everything I need. I bring a little merchandise. More merchandise is coming in the future that I'll be bringing. I mean, it's all different types of stuff like that. And
now, is it just you at these shows when you're going, or is it just
it depends? It depends. So there's a couple shows in the fall and late summer that I'll be playing with full band.
Okay. Now, are those prices adjusted?
Yes.
Okay.
Typically, I try and make sure that each band member is at least making $100 for the night. Which is fair. That's pretty good prices. For them, I mean, guys that don't play out, but I know are phenomenal. And then typically every show I have my producer and guitarist with me. He tears it up on lead guitar. I play rhythm and sing, and we're kind of the dynamic duo in that sense. And we always have a base pay for that too. There's a couple shows here and there where I have to do by myself, whether it be a private party that I'm doing for friends of the family, or if I'm doing for instance, I played this past show in Buckeye Lake for on Thursday. He didn't come because he was on his honeymoon.
Okay.
He was on his honeymoon with his wife. I mean, that's pretty reasonable. But typically he comes to just about every show he can. Then there's a couple other instances. Snowstorms. He's snowed in. He lives up near Cleveland, so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so he drives to play places too. So I always try to make sure he's getting paid pretty decent, But yeah, I mean, typically, it like I said, it depends on the occasion.
Okay. Tell people where they can find you online and whatnot.
All right. Well, you can find me joeyadamsmusic.com, Joey Adams Music on Facebook. The Joey Adams on Instagram. You can find my TikTok if you can find it. I think it's the Joey Adams as well. Just stuff like that.
Website?
joeyadamsmusic.com.
Where's your tour dates posted?
So if you go to joeyadamsmusic.com, there should be 3 lines if you're on your phone, or it'll be up on the top if you're on a computer. But you'll see events there, and then you just click on events, and it'll show you everywhere I'm playing, whether if it's a private party, I'll have it blocked off and say, this is a private party, whatever, and that's the only information you'll get. Everything else, it's open. I have, my next show is Frog Fest, which is up in Hanover. That's going to be anywhere between 200 to 500 people. And that's going to be a big one. I have that one on there. I have all of them on there, and sometimes it takes me a week to update it, just depending on how busy I am. But like I said, it just depends.
What is the most updated if I want to see where you're at?
Definitely the website.
The website.
Yeah, the website. I will always post stuff on Instagram and Facebook. I'll always post stuff there either a week to 2 weeks in advance of a show. So hopefully you'll see it there, which probably should. I'll post on all my stories and everything. And then it is always going to be on my website, as far in advance as I can put it. So I do have stuff that's in September and August and July that's on there now. But if someone, even like I got booked for the gig up at Buckeye Lake that I just played this past weekend. I got booked up there kind of last minute, like a week or two in advance. So I put it on there as fast as I could, but that's just the way that goes.
Right.
Yeah.
And in order to book you, what is the path to do that? Do I find your number? Do I go to a website? What do I do?
If you can find my number on Facebook, you can either message me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, whatever. I mean, whatever you follow me on, you can message me on that.
And it's you responding, I'm assuming.
Yeah, it's
right?
always me
Okay.
responding. I do have a couple other guys that help me manage the Facebook.
Okay.
But yeah, it's always going to be me responding when it comes to stuff like that. And then you can also, if you go on the website, you can book on the website. So there's a little disclaimer saying like no less than 100 an hour. You make an offer, date, time, all that, and then it gets sent directly to the email that we have for the music, and then I will look at it, I'll review it, and then after that I will contact whoever, and it'll have you leave your contact information and all that. So
Okay.
yeah, and then also I've had people who are just like talking about me at a bar, and then they'll give my number out to people.
Right.
So if you meet someone that knows me, they're probably going to give you my card or my phone number.
Okay, and let's say I want to book you using your website. Am I able to pay using a credit card?
Yeah, Venmo, Cash App, all that stuff.
Okay.
I accept cash, check. I accept any form. If we can do it through some form of payment, I'm up to doing it.
Okay.
It doesn't matter anyway.
Gold coins?
Yeah, gold coins, Bitcoin, whatever.
Oh, okay. That is what I have for you. I appreciate you contacting me so we can have this conversation.
I appreciate you for having me.
All right.
And I've thought of her ever since she left. And I'm looking like one hell of a mess, but I'm as good as it gets.